We'll get going. Our last one of the day here on day one. Oops, there you go.
You weren't out yet, Mark?
I did the intro, and then I've kind of been able to sit in the background, so I'm enjoying it's kind of a relaxing day.
Okay.
For me anyway, yeah. It's been great though. Hey, Scott.
Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Looks like we're just waiting on Tully. As we're waiting for him to jump on, a couple of housekeeping things. One, you guys saw some, sorry, I was just getting a message from Jay about Tully joining. I saw some basically commercials for some of our sponsors before this. Just wanted to again thank them. This has been great to add sponsors to it this year. They've helped us out a lot in making the event bigger and better. And then another thing, there's Tully. Housekeeping again. If you haven't yet, don't forget to download the WrenchWay app. It's free in both app stores. We're doing some giveaways, a Sonic tool set. They were nice enough to donate a nice tool set that we'll be drawing tomorrow for. We'll be giving away some stickers. Those to enter, you have to complete a challenge in the app. And when I say a challenge, it's answering a multiple choice question. So our hope is, of course, give away prizes for that. But then if you want to use the app consistently and going forward, we post challenges every week. We're looking for feedback so we can create stats, white papers, content to share with the industry. We're trying to get input from technicians of all levels, from students, from managers, and the app is a great way to do that rather than kind of the boring 15-20-minute survey each year that is necessary, but sometimes people roll their eyes at. We wanted to post just 1 or 2 questions every week, and then if you can answer, great, and then we'll aggregate the data. Last bit of housekeeping, throughout the presentation, you can see at the bottom there's a chat and a Q&A. Feel free to use the chat. We'll try to keep up with it as moderators a little bit as well. But if you want to specifically ask a question to the panel, use the Q&A feature. Honestly, I don't know why Zoom has both, but I think the Q&A is what we'll be most keeping an eye on for this. So getting started here, flat rate, the topic that if I had to guess before the event, I'd be shocked if this isn't our most attended of the 8. So thank you guys for being here. It's a hot topic for sure. Something that I'm probably going to sit back and listen to you guys as experts much more than I am on this topic, definitely. We will be talking about different kind of pain points, I guess, or issues people have with flat rate. I want to hear the pros, the cons, what you guys do, and then we'll kind of just see where it goes from there. I said we will add a few minutes at the end for Q&A. But to start with, let's introduce our amazing panel. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, Tim, Tully, and Scott. If I could you introduce yourself, what organization you're with, and then you don't have to go into a 10-minute speech or anything on what you guys currently do. But I think the audience would benefit to start with just kind of a high-level 3-4 minute overview of what your shop does for compensation for flat rate. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of it, so you don't have to go too detailed, but just kind of a high-level overview. Tully, you and I had spoke last week about this, so I'm going to start with you if you don't mind.
Well, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. It's super exciting. I am Tully Williams from the Niello company out in Sacramento, California. The Niello company has 10 dealerships, 10 rooftops, 100 years in business, which is really incredible. We do pay flat rate, the California way. We'll get in that in a little bit, which is kind of like a guarantee-ish at the bottom. We do have hourly techs as we bring them up, but really the key for us in keeping techs happy is, one, pay them a lot and have a pathway from the very beginning to the very end.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Tim, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Tim Winkeler, President and CEO, VIP Tires and Service, and all the way across the country. So in Northern New England, we've got 65 service centers. We're an independent. We're not a car dealership. Roughly 600 employees or so. And in our 65 shops, we also are flat rate, but we call it flat rate plus. So we have what you might call, it's not necessarily a guarantee, but we'll get into the details. But if a technician's at least 80% efficient or productive, whichever term you want to use, they're going to get all their clocked hours paid. And when they crest over 100% productivity, we give them a 10% bonus that week. And so, but we also have about 40% of our technicians, we're tires and service. So we do a lot of tires, a lot of frequency services. And so about 40% of our shop folks are more on an hourly basis with some weekly bonus opportunities as well for productivity. So that's where we're at.
Perfect. Thank you. And then last but certainly not least, Scott.
Yeah, my name is Scott Brown, and I've been in the industry about 38 years now. And my title in this presentation, I'm one of the founders of Diagnostic Network, founded in 2018. That was coming off of a 22-year run and building IETN, for those that are aware of that. But I'm also a technician, service technician. My wife and I own a service center, an independent service center in Claremont, California. That's about 35 miles east of Los Angeles. We just turned 61 years old last month. So Tully, we're only 40 years behind you, or 39 now. We'll catch up eventually, right?
60 is a big number.
That is a big number. It is a pretty rare, and we have a really nice facility here. We're in a 13,000 square foot building that was purpose built for the post office back in the early 70s, and it's a luxury. I get people that come by from out of town all the time. I give them a tour, and they say, "Wow, you got a lot of room here." So, but we are a small independent business. I've got technicians working for me. I've got master technicians, a couple of those. I've got some apprentices working, and we pay. It's a hybrid. We have to have a guarantee. We're in California, just like Tully said. We've got some legal things there, but I don't see a big issue with that. I think technicians. I'm a technician. Technicians should be paid, and this should be a career, not a job. Right? This is something that they need to grow and support their families and everything else. And I've got guys here that have been working with me for a long time. We pay at different rates depending on the types of work that's being done. Diagnostics is something that I'm all in on. I'm a diagnostician myself. I understand how difficult that some of these issues are. We work also, since we're an independent shop, we work on a wide host of vehicles spanning 4 or 5 decades at any given time. And so for us to have the skill set and the wherewithal to actually provide expert service, competent service, takes a lot. And so when you're looking at compensation, there's a lot of factors that come into play there. Research, all that good stuff. So thank you for having me on here, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to go right back to you, Scott. And as we went around the room, everyone, it sounded like, has a form of flat rate, but not just straight flat rate. I think Tim referred it to as flat rate plus. Tully, we've talked before, you have different programs. Scott, you said you had a variety. My question is relatively new to the industry is, I hear a lot of complaints on the forearms. We talk to technicians, a lot of them are sick of it. We'll get into later, kind of some, maybe the more experienced ones, they want to do some more mentoring, things like that. But when I talk to a lot of good shops, good dealerships, it seems like a lot have moved to some sort of hybrid model or something outside of the norm, at least in the past. But yet, I don't know if technicians fully see that or appreciate that. I don't know if it's a messaging problem. So maybe we can start with, there's a reason, whether it was you or someone in your company turned to a modified approach, or Tim to a plus approach. I'm guessing it's because you recognize some issues with just straight flat rate. Do you think we as an industry, I'll start with Scott, don't do a good enough job of promoting the changes we have made to pay plans? And is it just the vocal people are speaking up more than the rest? Or what do you think's going on there?
Well, there's a lot of white noise out there, right? So we're busy people. It's hard sometimes to not uh, look outside the box, right, and pay attention to what everybody else is doing. I would say if you're involved with trade organizations, trade groups, you're networking with people. This is how you're becoming aware of better best practices to apply. And that's how I've become successful, right? It's networking with other people, hanging out with people that are smarter than me, because some of that will actually, through osmosis, will transfer over, and you can start applying some of these methodologies in your facility. But so Doc, just to briefly about the flat rate in general, I think that it's the sad thing is that people take it as that's the way you do it, right? You look up in a book on how much it's going to take to do that water pump or whatever, and then that's what you're billing for. And the technicians over there going, well, what about all this other stuff? And so there's a loss of communication. So the hybrid approach, I think, is best, because now everybody's in the same. They're all part of the business, right? We work with our technicians and say, all right, we're going to do this job. What else is involved? What do we need to do a complete comprehensive job? And then factor in the road testing, the validation, the QA process, and everything else. And those hours add up, and you need to factor all of those things in. You can't just go by what the flat rate book says. It's 1.6 to change that widget out, and then bill at that. So that's the tough part.
Yeah, Tully, anything you want to add to that kind of same question, or see if you want to add anything Scott said?
I think that the issue with technicians is that we are, I think a long time ago, and I was raised as a tech, I started as a tech, is that, we were, I don't want to offend anybody, we were treated like second-class citizens, really, in the beginning, right? You're in the back, you get dirty, fix a car, shut up. I think today, technicians are like one of the most valuable assets at a car dealership and as an independent shop. Without technicians, we cannot do anything at a car dealership or an independent. So I think that what we have worked on is educating, showing the technicians how important they are, making them feel good, which everybody wants, no matter what position you have. And two is explain to them the process of how we pay at our stores. Now in California, which is really good, is that we do have a hybrid system. It is clocked hours versus closed hours or booked hours. And with a minimum wage guarantee, which is minimum wage times 2, because they have their toolbox. I think this is great. I have had a full flat rate shop where a guy could work on a car for 40 hours and make 1 hour. This doesn't work anymore today. They have families and they have bills to pay, and they need security at your store. When your technician believes that they have security at your store and have a pathway to make more money for them and their families, you're going to get a tech to buy into what we're trying to achieve. First is that we must have an hourly program in the beginning. We need to explain to them how we can get them started, get them on a pathway to success. So when they do make that jump to flat rate-ish in California, they're going to be successful. So our hourlies do have a ramp program. You achieve 6 hours a day on average for the pay week, we'll give you an extra $1. 7 hours per day, we'll give you $2. And if you hit 8 hours per day, oh my God, I'll give you $5 extra per hour for that pay period. There is an incentive to work hard. And if you do work hard, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay you more money. Now, when it comes to the flat rate technicians, we have to explain to them how the California thing works. It's the hours worked versus the hours actually there. It is a big deal. It is a little confusing. I've been on the phone with many wives to explain the pay plan. But it's simple math that we're guaranteeing our technicians a minimum wage for them working there. In my district, it is going to be come January 1st, $30 an hour is our minimum wage that we're going to guarantee every flat rate technician here at the Niello company. That's a living wage-ish. But you know what? We're paying up to $53, and there's a pathway on how to get there. If we don't challenge technicians to grow, show them how they can make more money for them and their families, we need to show them the schooling, pay to them to go to school and train, show them paths, have mentors, have foremen that help technicians grow, so we can go from 30 to 35 to 40 to 45 to 50 and make them successful and show them how much we appreciate them and our technicians. I hope I'm not going off the deep end here, but the passion for technicians right now, if you're not all in, you're out, period.
Yeah, no, I agree with that definitely. And I want to come back later to some of the stuff you said pathway, because I think sometimes flat rate or compensation in general gets blamed for bad career development or not showing technicians there is a pathway. So I'm sure we'll come back to that, but I want to give Tim a chance to talk. You had mentioned your program, the Plus program, where it's not quite a guarantee, but it kind of is. I think for the audience, we work with you guys a lot, and your company is an amazing company to work with. So just like Tully did it, if you could kind of explain a little of how your program works to achieve those goals of not being just a normal flat rate program.
Sure, Mark. And some of what these guys talked about, I would echo, but to be even more specific, I guess I would say, I understand that this topic is flat rate and it's compensation and everything, but the fact is, any shop owner or any organization that's too overly focused on compensation probably doesn't have the other boxes checked. Culture, benefits, leadership, training, promotion, career path. I mean, we could do, you guys probably have seminars. I think on the last TechMission, I was on a career pathing seminar. We've got a formal 7-step process from entry level to lead master tech. We've got a similar process on the front side of the business. We invest in training. We have every one of our employees has a voice in the company. We do annual survey. As a leadership team, we go out and meet with every single employee every year and ask them, how can we make VIP better? What don't you like about the company today? And our employees have a voice. So when you have focus on all these other areas, I'm not saying compensation ain't important. It's really important. But if an organization gets too focused on the compensation, or for technicians out there, if technicians out there are overly focused on, I'm not making enough, it might be because they don't enjoy the place they're working. And, there's been some acquisitions up in our area and some, unfortunately, large organizations that don't treat their people very well. We've had a lot of success bringing in great talent into VIP, and not necessarily because we pay more, but because our associates tell these people what a great company it is to work for. And, I wish it was every employee. We're still working so that everybody's living the VIP dream, but that's the goal. And that's kind of the fabric of what we've built at the company. To get back to the specifics around our flat rate program, I think it's 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even longer. I've been here 12 years now. We looked at it and said, we don't want to guarantee, I've heard some organizations that have a guarantee in place. So you'll always be guaranteed a certain amount, no matter what you produce. Well, that I don't want to incentivize bad behavior or laziness, quite frankly. And so what we do is we say, you know what? Most of our average flat rate technician last month was 113% productive. So billed out 113% of their clocked hours. We had a handful that were below 80. And every one of those that were below 80, our district managers and our managers are putting coaching plans together for those technicians to help them to identify what are the barriers. Are they new to flat rate, or is there some systemic problem at that shop that's causing them not to be as productive? Is it equipment related? Sometimes we identify equipment that we've got to help invest in as an organization, or quite frankly, is it just the wrong career path for them? And, maybe it's not the right industry, or maybe it was too soon, and maybe they need to go back into what we call our installation technician program, where they're making a guaranteed 15 an hour, but with an opportunity to make 18 or 19 an hour based on, once again, their productivity. But it's a much more comfortable, if you will, hourly program. So when we added in the Flat Rate Plus program, giving them that 80% buffer, what that really means, and sometimes we have to explain it in these numbers, is, a technician bills out 32 hours, we're going to pay him for 40. And now if a technician bills out 50 hours and they worked 40, we're going to pay them 55. They're going to get that extra 10% when they crest over 100% productivity. We've just found that gives the technician, we have slow periods up here, in New England, we're crazy busy right now, but come middle of February, everybody's hunkered down and driving through snowbanks and don't put as many miles on their car. And so our car counts reduce. we actually reduced that 80% down to 70% that time of year. So during February and March, if our technicians produce 28 hours, they're going to get paid for 40. So we do all these things because ultimately our goal is just to make it a great place to work. And if we do that, we know that they're going to give customers great service.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but you don't call it a guarantee, Tim, but it sounds like it basically
We call
is.
it a safety net.
Okay.
We call it a safety net for a slow week,
Okay.
to put it in those terms.
Yeah, there was a comment in our first session, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it said flat rate should be used to incentivize productivity, but a lot of employers use it as a way to not be accountable when they don't have a full shop or they don't have enough work to do. And I think that fear is still, even in these busy times, we work with a lot of technicians seeking new employment. They know they can work at a ton of different places. And almost all of them want to know if it is flat rate, there is some sort of guarantee. So I guess
Hey, Mark, let me give you just another quick story and then I'll shut up for a while. But when COVID hit, and things were shut down, not only did we not lay off, not furlough, not cut hours, I'll tell you what we did. Every week, we looked at our technician productivity and we reduced that, what I call the safety net, at 80% typically. We had it down as low as 40%. We were paying technicians 40 hours for 16 hours billed. And we were helping them find, painting lift arms, cleaning the shop, we got crazy on the kind of stuff that we wanted our managers to identify in our shops to help them gain productivity during those really, crazy slow times. And that's all because, one of the credos here is we've got each other's backs, and that goes both ways. And once again, I keep coming back to it, but when the culture's right, compensation is just one of the pieces, but it really gets less focus when you've got all these other areas right in the business.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I'm getting to, and maybe I'm not articulating it well, of how there are a lot of great shops that do things like you guys do, and that's amazing, that story you just told. But I think sometimes the negative ones, people paint the whole industry more on the negative ones than the positive ones, and I don't have the right answer to that, but I found it interesting that not just you guys, but the people I talk to in general, rarely, if ever, do I see something that's not some sort of modified version or plus program or something that is addressing a lot of the traditional complaints with flat rate. But let's spend a couple minutes diving into some of those kind of traditional specific things. Tully, I'll start with you on this one. We had a good conversation last week about it. What do you tell we see a lot of this for people with a lot of experience, someone who they've put in 15, 20 years, they don't, maybe it's not that they don't want to chase the hours, they want to be productive, but they want to spend some time mentoring, they want to do some other things. I know you guys have a foreman, but not everyone can be the foreman. What do you tell, or do you offer different programs for them to encourage more of that mentoring? And we know there's a shortage. We know we need to bring on the younger folks. So we need more people to mentor. But if a traditional flat rate skews them away from that, what do you tell your guys in those situations that want to do more of that?
Well, today we have an anniversary of one of our technicians, 35 years at the Niello company. Last year, we had a technician retired at 54 years. So the issue, what we must do is that, one, they have to have a good work environment. Two, as we know, as technician gets older, our hands, our knees, our backs ache a little. And those experience that we have with those senior technicians is so crucial to bring up the next level of technicians. So at some of our stores that have that ability where the technician, I would say, is slowing down, which is totally okay, but work 100%, great with customers, test drives and so forth, is we can make adaptations for those people. One, we'll turn them into an hourly technician, give them the idea of safety net, as my good friend Tim said, is make sure that we're going to pay you $35 or $40, whatever the number is going to be. It doesn't matter. Two, if you do hit the over 8 hours a day, I'm going to give you an extra, as we do with some of our beginners. So if they do 7 hours, I'll give you an extra 2 or 3. And if I give you hit 8, I'll give you some more money. So if they do have a good week, I'm going to give them more money. which is great because that's what we want to do. We want to reward our technicians, but yet we want to have the safety net or the security of that person to help mentor those young technicians coming up. As we have our lube techs coming out in our maintenance centers like that, they struggle like, am I going to be in this lube rack forever? Hell no. We want to show you how to get out of that and into the next level. So you must listen to this gentleman here, how to do a great video walk around, how to do a incredible inspection on a car, and give us great recommendations that we'd sell our family members. We're not flushing nobody. We're going to tell people the honest truth. That takes a lot of training. That takes the culture at your store is everybody's bought into making the thing right. As I tell everybody at our car dealerships, we are in one business and one business only, and that is repeat and referral business. And if we don't have our technicians and our team members embedded in that, it will never happen. Technician starts there. Quality recommendations, quality training, the security of that they know that they have a job. Humans make mistakes every day. I have no problem with that. But we want to make sure that we correct those mistakes and help them coach and mentor so they can be more successful and, again, make more money for them and their families.
Yeah, I like that. And so you're embracing flexibility, and it's not a one size fits all. Is there any animosity or jealousy or anything from any of the other techs there? That goes back to culture, I'm sure, but I want to.
In fact, I think they think it's great, right? And not every shop has that, but we have 2 or 3 shops that have that, and they're thankful to have that person because he's been there so long. It's not like we're going to hire a technician that's on his last leg to come in. That's probably not going to happen. But, a guy that's been there 25, 35, 45 years, right, has put in great service. People love him, has a great attitude. My God, we're going to bend over backward for this guy. Our Mr. Niello is going to call this guy and thank him every time, right? So we want to make sure we treat these people with respect and honor and help us build our next generation of technicians. How hard is it to find technicians? We subscribe to your service. We're desperate for techs. Here's a market in Sacramento where a technician can buy a house. I came from Silicon Valley, can't buy a house in Silicon Valley. All right, you got to be a trillionaire to buy a house in in Silicon Valley. People can come up here, make an honest living, have a family, get a home mortgage, God bless America, and come work for me. That's what I want.
Well said.
That's awesome.
Scott, let me jump over to you. Kind of the same question, but what are your thoughts on just paying in general for those things that maybe aren't part of that specific job, mentoring people, training? You had mentioned some difficult diagnostics. I'm kind of jumping around here, but you know what I'm getting at of those, non-specific things that they should be compensated for.
Yeah, I think, just to reinforce what Tully's talking about, that the environment is the biggest piece, right? If you've got everybody in your business invested in making your company better than it was the way it was when it came in the morning, this is how you can basically breed an awesome culture. I remember when I first started in this industry, started work, got out of tech school, went to work in a shop. It was flat rate, got 50%, but I was full of questions. And I'm telling you, all the other seasoned techs, they were also on flat rate. So they did not want to slice off any of their time to help me understand what was going on. And I think that the flat rate in general is what bred that negativity, that bad culture. And I've been in other places where there's just been huge animosity, and that just totally, introduces tons and tons of friction, just a really bad environment. Our industry, I'll just come out and say this, we need to shape it up here. I've got a lot of colleagues out there that left this industry because of the way they're being treated. The technicians are not being rewarded for what kind of value they're bringing forward. And that starts at the management at the top level. They don't understand the marketplace and what the technicians actually need. Technicians are a huge asset, right? You're not going to fix any cars unless you've got skilled technicians that can accurately analyze and diagnose and predict what else needs to be done on the vehicle so that it's going to give years and years of service to the car. And also talk about training. Right. Other industries, when a technician or an employee needs to go to training, they're going to training during the day, during their normal work hours. They're getting compensated for that, and they're going home in the evening. In our industry, it's been traditionally you take training at night after you've busted your butt all day, and then your butt's dragging in the class. You're hardly staying awake, and then you're coming back to work the next day and burn out even more. So we have to shift gears and really start shaping up and generating these awesome environments, because then that's going to be a big message, a big signal out there to young folks that want to come into this career and understand that, hey, you know what, there is a pathway to raising a family, buying a house, just like Tully said. So yeah, you've got to do a number of things here to build your culture. I don't want employees turnover. I hate turnover, because that just costs you a ton of money too. So, when we hire people, it's like, hey, I'm hiring you because I see a long-term investment here, and I want you here for a long time. I want to take care of you. I want you to help me take care of our shop.
Yeah, well said. And Tully mentioned in the business of referrals from customers, and I think the same is true from employees. Scott, you had mentioned people, friends of yours, leaving the industry, and that's what our whole event is too many are leaving the industry. And unfortunately, they don't recognize that those issues they had at their shop, their dealership, may not be true. Right now, we have 3 great, seems like, people to work for, companies to work for. So Tim, going to you, how do we start changing the perception around flat rate in general, things like that, of that it's not industry wide, everything you talk about the changes you've made, not just for pay, but Scott was talking about training it. I know you guys have an awesome training program, and you reward, even if someone fails an ASE test, you reward the time to take that. And you guys get that message out, but I just feel like it's not enough. And there are a lot of good shops out there. How do we do a better job of, if someone's not happy as a technician, instead of them leaving the industry in general, how do we get them to give somewhere else a shot? And we're part of that too at WrenchWay, but I want to hear your thoughts on that, Tim.
Yeah, I guess, unfortunately, first of all, there's no silver bullet. Secondly, the culture and the environment and the people piece that, Scott and Tully and I are talking about, quite frankly, that is the most difficult part of running a business. And it takes a long time to build something like that, to build a culture. And the larger the organization is, the tougher it is. We've got 65 shops, but I'm guessing Tully's got even more people under his rooftops than we've got in our shops. And if you look at, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to all the consolidation going on in the independent side of the business, but you've got private equity money flowing into our industry like never before. And you've got several very large organizations that are just swallowing these regional players, and they're not at all focused on culture, unfortunately, for the industry. They're not at all focused on making it a great place to work. They're funded by private equity, and people have seen our industry and they think they can just roll these businesses up and it's going to be just like all these other industries, and they get it wrong, quite frankly, because we're a people business. Tully said he's in the referral business. We say what you've heard our owner and myself say to our people over and over again is, we say we're in the relationship business. Our whole customer engagement process is focused on, from the time a customer walks in to the time they leave, that we are building relationships with them. We bring every customer out possible to the shop to meet the technician. So when we interview technicians to come work for us, flat rate's just one piece, but we're showing them what we call our 5 for 5 process. This is how we, have an average 4.6 Google rating across all of our shops, because you as a technician are a key part of our customer engagement process. We don't have signs on the door that say customers not allowed in the shop for insurance reasons. We have a shop, we have huge windows into our shops, and we have welcoming signs that say, come meet your technician, right? But this is unfortunately not the way that most of the larger organizations are being run, quite frankly, because there's guys behind a spreadsheet making decisions. And I wish I had a silver bullet, Mark, for the industry. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. And I big reason you guys do a great service for us, but man, I'm rooting for you. And I hope by you guys doing TechMission and some of these other things that we start to spread the word, and more shop owners, and maybe even some really large operators, start to jump on the bandwagon and start really talking about top shops. What does it take to be a top shop? What do I need to do to attract technicians? So anyway, that's all I know. All I know is that we wake up every day trying to make it a better place to work. And if the largest organizations in our industry did that, the industry obviously would turn around from an employee and from a technician standpoint. We would start attracting a lot more technicians to the industry. But man, that's a tough road when the people behind these decisions are not necessarily people in our business and understand our business.
Yeah, very, very true. I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective of, I've been that, I started as a CPA and seen firsthand the people that run a business through a spreadsheet and how negative that can be. I guess kind of where I want to go next is to you, Tully. We had talked a little bit about the mentoring aspect, but I had some questions come into me before this. A lot of them were on mentoring. And so I kind of got out of order there because I liked some of what Scott said, but I do want to go back to the mentoring side and how we properly pay for that and make sure that people that want to do that are able to do that, even if they're not a foreman. And you can say these things better than me. So maybe I'll just kind of keep that blanket statement and say to you, what can we do? You wouldn't believe the amount of, we have a thing called reverse job posts that I see all of those that come in. And people, it's awesome to see they want to do more, but they feel like they can't do it at their current place. What can we do for compensation, for anything to make techs feel like they can mentor the next generation?
Well, the first thing is that is the leadership at your store supportive of this? First thing is that, it's all profit, 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 profit. And if, as Tim says, we're in the people business, right? That's what our dealer says all the time. We're in the people business, right? And if we don't have happy employees, we do not have happy customers. And if we don't have happy customers, we're out of business tomorrow. So I think that the issue is going to believe that we believe that we'll pay a little extra to somebody to help mentor our next generation. It starts at the top, because what's going to happen is that the bean counters are going to start saying, well, that costs us, a couple $1,000s a month to have that guy train somebody. Oh, but he's making you 80% gross profit when he makes progress, bro. So the whole thing is that, does people get it? Do we get that we must have those mentors? Now, I don't think everybody at a store should be a mentor. I think that creating teamwork and culture in your store where techs help each other out because they know one day they're going to want to be helped. That is the ultimate culture at a store, where you don't have this mentor person that needs to walk around. That's what a foreman does, right? Oh, you're having a problem, let me come over and help you, or I'll take that job for you to get something else. If the team at your store is all about helping each other out, those things become less. And if you have a store that's big enough, and I mean big enough means is a store that with 10 or 12 techs, it might be a little bit more difficult, but if you have 30 to 40 technicians, you can have mentors that maybe work half a day. And then the other expense for that will go to training, because he'll be out there helping the technicians that need or struggling with the issues. One is that you can pay them on an hourly rate. I'll just pay you blank dollars an hour when you're off the clock on the training RO. Or you can go and say, hey, technician, you can have a team set and I'll pay you X amount of dollars per every hour that technician generates for a period of time as a thank you gift for training that technician. I believe most of the time the best way is an hourly rate. I don't want to get too greedy, because next thing you know, he's going to think he's getting himself in a little business opportunity here. I'll have 5 little techs here making me money. I really have a mentoring issue where they're sitting there helping those technicians because they want to, right? The whole thing about these technicians is that are we going to colleges and high schools to tell people that, I'm sorry, you're all not going to go to work for Google and Facebook, but you can come work for me and make $50 an hour. Holy mackerel, right? So how do we go out there and say this industry is incredible? This industry has more high tech than Google and Facebook could ever want, right? EV cars are coming out, or they're insane. BMWs, Jaguars, right? Land Rovers, Porsches are advanced vehicles. Even Toyotas are. Get the excitement of the young people into this industry and how exciting it is to fix these cars today. We train, 100% train. We train everybody. In fact, I tell colleges, just make sure they're good people and know that they won't break a bolt, and I'll train them how to fix a car. because the passion we want for this industry is not there. The passion for everybody says, you got to go to college, get a 4-year degree and go make $20 an hour. I say, no, let's send them to community college, get them an education in car fixing, and I'll make you $50 an hour in the next 4 to 5 years. That is a career.
100% agree, and we could do a whole topic on that. I'm going to pick one thing you said, even though there's 20 there that I'd love to expand on. But one thing about this industry is amazing. Every brand of car is complicated and cool, and there's a lot of awesome things going on. And the public in general does not realize how skilled you have to be a technician. And I think that feeds into something that came up on our first session today of some managers, owners, they want to pay more. They know they have to, but they're not getting the appropriate amount from customers. And then that affects what the technicians get paid. So Scott, I'm coming to you first on this kind of 2-part question. One, not so much how do we get to charge more, but I guess actually, yeah, let's go with that. How do some shops charge more so they can pay their techs? But then number 2, I think there's a huge gap between what technicians think the owners make and what they actually do. So if someone's getting $30 an hour or whatever it is, and they're charging $150, they're not realizing. So do you think your shops or other places you've worked do a good job of explaining, educating, showing techs transparency on it's not all just going into the owner's pocket? Take either of those. I didn't mean for it to be 2 totally different questions, so take either of them there, Scott.
So, yeah, so I'll take them both. I'll be short on the first one, or the last one you just mentioned. Yeah, there's a lot of techs that actually went into business for themselves, thinking that blindly they're making all this money, and then they go in without the budgets in place, and then the next thing they know, they're no longer in business. So, yeah, I think it's beneficial that a shop understand the logistics there and get their technicians to understand, hey, you know what, this is a business. This is what it takes to run the business. You are a component of this business. These margins are in place so that when all the dust settles, we still have a very low margin business. I mean, the net is just absolutely sickening sometimes to see it. But to get there, we've got to do all the right things to keep things going. You did, and Tully mentioned, you know, there's more technology. There is a famous, there's a engineer out of MIT. His name is John Haywood. He's probably responsible for a lot of the engine technology we see out there today. He had a quote many years ago, and he said, "Cars are everywhere. They're one of the most sophisticated devices a human will ever interface in their entire lifetime." I use that all the time. And when we are doing work in the shop, we use a very highly transparent shop management system that helps to educate the customer. They get to see what's being done to the car. We're documenting what we're doing to the car. We're showing them that these processes are a little more involved than you know, them plugging in a machine and giving a code and telling them what part to put on the car, which is what most consumers have the concept of diagnostics. And we do this all the time. We're communicating. The customers understand more about their vehicle. They take a vested interest. They are less susceptible to balk at these higher prices to fix the automobile properly. And we're giving out a very large warranty, you know, 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty on what we do, which is awesome. I mean, that gives a sense of security, you know. And people, when they want to compare prices, you know, they want to shop for price. We tell them up front, hey, you know what, this is probably not the place for you. You know, our clients, we build value for them so that they can understand what it is that they're spending money on it. And then they have more respect really for our technicians and our service personnel in general.
All right. Yeah, well said. Tim, you want to touch on any either of those 2 questions there?
Yeah, a couple things. Tully, you cracked me up. A small shop is 10 to 12 technicians, huh? Because my busiest shop is 5 flat rate technicians and 5 general service techs, and it does a little over $3 million. And I thought that was big, and I guess it's half the size of your small shop. So, you know, but you know what? It brings up a great point. We have a mentor program, right? I can't afford to put a a foreman in every shop in 60. I mean, I operate in some markets with 2,500 people living there. And, we've got stores that do less than $1 million a year, total top line, with, 1 or 2 flat rate technicians in that shop. But what we have is a very flexible mentor program where we pair up a flat rate or a master technician with an entry level or an up and coming technician. And we essentially pay twice for a job. And all they have to do is submit that job to say, this was a training job. Jimmy did the work. Joe oversaw Jimmy while he did it. Joe made sure it was done right. We pay Joe training pay for that job. We pay Jimmy for the build hours. And we can do that across the company, no matter the scale of the shop. So we have to, everybody, and I guess for the audience out there, every shop kind of has to find what works for them. And, so that was one point I wanted to throw out there, because my guess is there may be other shop owners out there that, don't have 10, 12, 30 techs in their shop. And if they got 3, 4, 5, there's still a way to find a mentor program that works for them. Coming back to the whole flat rate thing, one of the points I think that has to be made is when all these other things are right, culture and the focus of the organization, obviously the three of us are in violent agreement on a lot of this stuff. When all these other things are in place, flat rate is really the freedom to earn more money, which every one of us want to do, and so that, without making it sound like it's greed, because it's not really greed, it's really freedom. It's the freedom to work at the pace that you feel comfortable at, while you can continue to produce quality work and engage with customers and build a clientele. I mean, we have so many customers who come in and they want Joe to work on their car. And we love that. We love it when a customer requests a technician because they have a past great experience with them. And, that's what we love about the business. And I love the fact that flat rate gives that technician the freedom to, earn more. I've got a great buddy who's a doctor. He's an ER doctor. What he loves about his job is he can work more and more hours in the ER, and then he can take a couple months off and go travel the world. It gives them a lot of freedom to earn more money on a flat rate versus just a straight hourly program. And you know what? The last point I'll make, I think it was Scott who brought up about, the P&Ls. I think one of the things I've talked to Jay about, Mark, before on one of these podcasts is that we do a P&L training. We call it P&L boot camp. And, every one of our managers gets a copy of a detailed P&L every month for his shop. But in addition to that, I actually personally go out and conduct training classes, not just for our managers, for up and coming assistant managers, and in some cases, our lead technicians. And we spend 4 or 5 hours going through how an income statement works. And more importantly, how their behaviors and how the team works in the shop and how that translates to the P&L. And so that level of transparency as well, I think, once again, is maybe somewhat unique, but that's another key part of our culture here is that you're right. Somebody sees you make 60% on a part and they think, oh my gosh, look at all the money the owner's making, but they don't realize that at the end of the day, there's this line called, net after tax, and it ain't 60 for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, and you said that isn't normal to go through that. I mean, it should be normal. I mean, in any business, really. I think the more people understand how their actions and their work affects the rest of the business, of course, the more they're going to care, or the parts of their job they hate, if they know someone else relies on that or how important it is, they're going to hate it less or appreciate it more, or find ways to make improvements. I can't get out of here without asking about warranty. I don't know a solution to that. I think it probably fits Tully the most here. So I'm going to put you on the spot for a comment of how do you deal with techs when, paid less or whatever, when those come in. That's another one we hear complaints a lot about. I'll leave it to you on that to comment in general.
Fantastic. So it's a bunch of horse manure. So let me just tell you how it works. So warranty is what it is. Some cars break more than others. God bless them. God bless cars that break a lot. God bless Land Rovers, right? Here's the deal. When you look at the breakout of how much they're doing, are you looking at your tech's ratio between customer pay and warranty? And we have internals, which is used cars. Are we looking at the breakout? Because it's fair to make sure that all techs have equal amount of warranty. And the average store for warranty is less than 20%. And here's the thing. We only work on one brand of car. These poor guys, Scott and Tim, they work on every car. I work on one brand per car. We actually get pretty good at that brand. We do. And what happens is we learn the tricks of the trade of the car. Yes, we do get bogged down on cars that we have no idea what's wrong, and the factory does not know what's wrong with it either. Foreman is designed to fix those automobiles. But when it comes to warranties, we got to take the stigma out of it. There is not an issue with warranty. Thank God for warranty, right? That's what keeps us in business. That's what drives people into our service drive, so we can make them happy and turn around and make customer pay, which is probably about 65 to 70% of what we work on a daily basis. Technician says, I always get the warranty. I always get the crappy jobs. I want some of that gravy. Show it to them. Because here's the deal. They'll complain about an hour on a ticket where they could have had 4 car jobs done already. Celebrate the wins. I have 9 technicians in the 3,000 hour club so far this year. Again, 3,000 hours. Those are celebrated wins. Those are celebrated technicians that are doing great jobs, no comebacks, making a huge impact for them and their families and for our stores. Celebrate the wins at your store. Are you having lunches? Are you having celebrations and contests with technicians? Not the damn salespeople, but the technicians out in the shop. Are you having the parts department bail in and help out and support these great technicians? This is what drives it. Then what happens is, well, I want to come work for the Niello company. They got it going over there. They're paying a great wage, and we're treated with respect and honor and have fun doing it. Going to work for someone said a job? Hell no. This is a career, and let's have fun at it every damn day.
Yeah, getting me pumped here. I'm sad this is the last one of the day, but as you're talking, there's numbers scrolling in the background. I think a key part of what you just said is show them. Everyone thinks when they get I've had all the warranty jobs lately, or the not the best ones, whatever it is, showing them the report, showing them it is equitable. And if you are in a place that one person is getting stuck with that way, I mean, obviously that's not fair. Either you should correct that, or
and
that
shame
person
on us. Shame on us for that. So we have to look at that. So that's something that we want to look at daily. When we do our one-on-ones with our technicians on a weekly basis, how are you doing? How's the family? How's the kids? What kind of cars you having problems with? And we look at their work mix, because here's the deal. If some guy get 50% warranty, you crap that guy out for the month. And guess what happens? They're going to talk about that for a year. So we want to make sure we whip that in the butt. We got to make sure that they're happy. Yes, we have bastard jobs. We're going to help you, right? We know that, right? I got 20 hours in this job. I only got paid 6. Come on in. Let's talk about it. Let's see if we can give some love to you, because we love you. Let's love these guys.
Amen.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, people are always going to remember and talk about and share the negatives a lot more than the positives. Nipping those in the butt. You're exactly right. I've kind of held back my opinions. You guys know I didn't grow up in the industry. I had to track my time. The first CPA firm I worked at, I hated it because I couldn't. If I did something twice as fast as someone else, we only charged by the hour, so I didn't get credit for that. Come bonus time promotions, I did. But with flat rate, like Tim said, you can maximize your money with that. So I do think there are a lot of positives. I think when I first started learning about it, honestly, I thought a lot of it didn't make a lot of sense and wasn't great. But the part I keep going back to is, I think a lot of the complaints I hear in talking to techs on forums, in places like that, most good shops have addressed. They might call it a hybrid, a guarantee, a plus, or whatever. They have a policy for warranty work. They have something for mentoring people. They have something for diagnostic time. Not all of them, but I still think we as an industry, the good shops have solved a lot of these. There's not one universal plan for everybody. But the more I dive in, the more less negative I was about flat rate in general. But I also think that tells us a bad job. All of us together aren't doing a very good job of promoting that, even if it's tooting our own horn of how good your specific plan is and things like that. I think we could do a better job.
Mark, just one thing I did just remember, this goes to how do we start to make an impact on the industry? So I'll give you a good example. Maybe somebody else out there has a great practice that they can share when there's an opportunity. Gary McCausland, our senior vice president, and I last week, we were out at SEMA Apex we both last spring volunteered to teach training classes for other shop owners at Apex. I taught the P&L class, similar to what I do internally here, but to help shop owners, like, Scott said, we've had so many technicians leave the company because they see the gross margins and they think they're net, and they think they're going to go make that at their own shop, and they end up coming back working for us as a technician again because they don't understand how an income statement works. That's the class I taught out there at Apex to a lot of shop owners. Gary taught it was called filling the technician void, focusing on recruiting, retention, and culture. And he really, he spent 2.5 hours with a room full of other shop owners talking about how do we put these things into practice? How do we share what we do? And we don't have all the answers. We just get a lot of great feedback from our technicians, our employees, and other people in the industry who tell us what we're doing is pretty good. And so we wanted to share that, because if we can help a few other shops start to put these kind of things in place, little by little, we can create a wave. And you guys at Find a Wrench and WrenchWay are a part of that. And it sounds like, I love what Tully's saying, because I know we've got some dealers up here, unfortunately, who don't treat their people as well as the Niello group does. And, I wish they did, quite frankly, because I want our industry to have a much better feel for the technicians who come into this industry, and so we can attract more young people into this industry.
Yeah, well said. We all have to work together. I reviewed a lot of comp plans for a lot of different industries, and you're never going to have a perfect one. You're never going to have a universal one that fits all in the industry. Whatever you do, people are going to try to game the system. I mean, we're humans. We want to make as much money as we can. But as long as you provide transparency and you admit that there are problems with the plan, and then you fix some of that, I think it could go a long way. I still think it's far from perfect, but I think it's a messaging problem more than anything. But we're gonna leave a few minutes here for questions. I don't see any in there now, but why don't we go around and say kind of just last words on compensation in general for the industry. What you'd want to say, Scott? I'll start with you.
We have to treat this as a professional career and not a job. I know I said that once, but sometimes in life you have to say things 7 times to get them across. You were talking a little bit about that warranty, and that doesn't typically apply to us, but we do have a warranty, and we try to avoid having any type of warranty failures by using all the high quality stuff, taking the time to QA. That is the biggest thing. My goal was to have 0 comebacks, which is as a bold goal. You will always have them, but we have minimized the hell out of those things, and that lends to customer satisfaction, and that lends to referrals. And again, it's all about creating that awesome environment, and having technicians love to come to work, right? And that's really what it's all about. And the last thing I'll say is that I'm sorry I don't have the level of enthusiasm that Tully has, but maybe we can shed some of that and split it between us all to make us all even out, okay?
Yeah, very, very true. We'll leave Tully for the end to leave us on enthusiasm and head home. And
yeah, he could drop the mic. Yeah.
Tim, any last comments here or thoughts?
I guess I would just reiterate that for anybody out there, if you're a shop owner, put a career path, put the steps on, create a documented career path, put it in paper. I've told the story before about how, we pay for all training, all ASEs, pass or fail, all the study guides, all the everything. We get people registered. We take every barrier out of the way for someone to move up in their career. And we try to, there's no better money we can spend than investing in our people. And so get it down on paper and use that in addition to the compensation offer when you're talking with your people or with candidates. And the only other thing I'll say is, I've seen pretty rapid pay escalation in the 12 years I've been here at VIP, and I don't see that slowing down at all. And I think it was a long time coming. And, I hear the numbers Tully's talking about out in California, and we're not quite there yet, but we're on a pretty fast pace. And, I can continue to see both on the low end and on the upper end, the wages continue to escalate. And I think that is another piece of what it's going to take to attract more people to the industry. And it's a long time coming. But the other side of it is we got to make sure we're charging the right labor rate and we're making the right money on the front end on the tickets to pay for the increased wages, which, you got to understand your P&L to do all that right. But, we're in a massive inflationary period right now. So, let's embrace it and let's make sure that we're making the right money on the front end and we're paying our people really, really well.
And before we have Tully take us out here and get us all excited, one question came through of turnover rate, and I think that's kind of a loaded question. It's specific to area, specific to company. But I am curious if any of you want to comment on that, because my guess is when you have good culture, when you have good career development, when you have addressed the complaints about flat rate, which you all say you pay flat rate, but I would argue you do, but it's all a modified version because you've addressed a lot of the traditional complaints. I bet your turnover is not as high as other industries. I don't know if you want to share specific numbers, but Tully, why don't you address that?
Here's the deal. If you have turnover, you have a problem in your shop. You look at Tim, you look at Scott, we run great organizations. People leave because they're upset, right? We don't have people leave because they're trying to chase a dollar down the street. It takes forever to get their toolbox down there, right? The issue of the reason there's leaving is there's a problem in your store. I can't make a living for me and my family. We need to celebrate automotive technicians. We need to promote this industry. Are we out there in schools? Are we out there in high school and saying, this is a profession that you can make a couple $100,000 for you and your family? We need to promote this. And I can't thank enough for WrenchWay to help us promote this out. But the shops that are not doing it are not going to be around much longer, because you're going to have shops like Tim and Scott and myself. They're going to say, I want in. We want to get into that. I can make great money. We provide a great service for customers. Comebacks go away when we give a great environment. Yes, humans make mistakes. We deal with those on a daily basis. Big deal. Warranty, it's not a big deal. Turnover becomes not really a big deal anymore because the culture, the pathway, the security of our technicians is priority one, right? If you own a plumbing shop, are you worried about plumbers? Yes, you are. Are you worried about electricians? We need to be worried about technicians at these shops. Shops that are going to win are going to promote and make strong technicians. We all as an industry need to get out there and say, hey, this is the industry you want to get into. Don't go to Google and Facebook, bros. Come to us. We are ready to help you out.
Tully, you might be breaking the internet. You cut in a little bit there. You're exciting the tech gods too much, I think. But I'm glad you said something there about chasing the dollar an hour. That's a pet peeve of mine, 50 cents, whatever. Always hear people complain, oh, techs they'll leave for a quarter more, whatever.
No.
Good shops, I don't see that at all. That they have underlying issues, bad culture, bad boss, bad something that is causing that person. Tim, before that question, you look like you wanted to say something. If not, I apologize. I got too excited with Tully there.
No, on the turnover piece, I was just going to share that, if I go back 12 years, we used to be in the retail parts business as well, and talk about a turnover problem. When you're just dealing in general retail staffing, our turnover on that side of the business was in the like 60% range. We still have turnover on the entry level positions. Not everybody who comes in to an entry level position, it's not the right fit for them, not everybody. And so we still do have turnover there, but as every year, it is one of our KPIs that we cover. And every year we've seen it continue to come down lower and lower and lower. And every year when we have our surveys and our meetings with all of our employees, this is one of the things we do. We sit next to our entry level technicians and we say, hey, Jimmy, so how's it going? What do you like? What don't you like? What can we do better? And when you listen to those people and then you make changes to improve your business, then Tully's right. Turnover is not going to be a major problem in a business if you really listen to your people and taking action.
All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you guys so much. I had fun with this. I learned a lot. Hopefully other people did as well. Hopefully it's okay if anyone asks. We can give some contact information, things like that. I know we get a lot of shop managers asking for examples of pay plans, things like that. like Tim said, the more we can share that stuff, the more we help the industry. So just to thank you guys for being part of this. A couple last minute housekeeping thing. This is our last one for today. Tomorrow we're back at it again, 9:30 Central. Sarah, Jay, I apologize. I don't know what session that is, but it's online. You guys can see it in the emails. We have 4 more action-packed ones for you tomorrow. I think this was a great first day, a great one to end on. So just thank you guys for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.